Hiya, it's Ukulele Saz, or Sarah, and I'm a full-time ukulele teacher in Glasgow, Scotland. I'm the founder of the Scotland Ukulele Project, and I also teach students online, one-to-one. I teach small group lessons, I teach big workshops, I teach adults, and I teach kids. Something that I get asked a lot by students looking to get into teaching, or general teachers who want to start teaching the ukulele, is how do I actually teach a group? How do I set up and prepare myself for a group? So this is all very impromptu. I'm just going to give you some top tips that work for me. This is all extremely off the cuff. I'm trying out a few different things because I would like to start sharing with you all a little bit more about teaching in general. Top skills that you need to have for teaching, little things, little tips that will help you kind of take command a little bit, be a good leader, plan things effectively but not too much. So a lot of people say that they couldn't get up there and stand in front of people and teach and lead a group. It's not for everybody, I will say that for sure, but if it is something that you are interested in and it's something that you would like to do or you've got the opportunity to do, then I highly recommend it, because to me there is no more rewarding job than getting up there and helping others experience the joy that there is of making music, especially with the ukulele. So my first tip that I have for you is be prepared, but not too prepared. What I mean by that is make sure you have lesson material available. Make sure you've got a rough plan of what you would like to do, but also know that that plan might not go accordingly. It might be that you don't have as many students as what you thought. It might be that the students have played and performed a lot faster than what you maybe thought they would have. It might be the opposite, in which they've not got through the amount of things that you've wanted to have gotten through. They might have maybe only managed to play the first couple of chords. My top tip with that is make sure you have a lot of different things at different levels. So you might have to think about differentiation, which is when you have to have one activity. Let's say it's learning a chord progression. You might have to learn this chord progression for a song, and you might have 3 levels of that. The first level might just be playing the chords C, F, A minor, G. The second would maybe be to do that with down strums, and the third might be to introduce a slightly more complicated rhythm, which could be the island strum, down, down, up, down, up. By having 3 different ways to teach it and 3 different levels, that's allowing everybody at different abilities to try something for themselves. That leads me on to breaking things down, because you have to start at the beginning and build it up. Some people think, oh well, I'll just teach them this song, but they don't actually think about how they're going to break that down. You always have to think about the learner as learning for the first time. They've never seen this before. How would you break that down into pieces that make that as simple as possible? What would you start with? How would you break that down so that they just need to learn one thing at a time and gradually build stepping stones up? That's something that you really have to think about in general as a teacher. So differentiation is a massive one, and it's something that the more you do, the more you'll get used to doing, because trust me, you will be faced with challenges where some people fly through the material and some people will maybe really struggle in the first couple of steps. So you always want to make sure that everybody's engaged and everybody's participating throughout the lesson or workshop. In terms of lesson planning, if you know me, you will know that I do not write down a lesson plan. Now, this is sometimes just the way my brain works. I'm a very intuitive thinker, and I like to think on my feet depending on what the class is throwing at me that day. But what I would say is it's very important to have an idea of a path and know what goals you're working towards as a teacher. If you're teaching a beginner group, this is pretty simple. If you're teaching, for example, a 6-week beginner block, by the end of the 6 weeks, think about what you want those people to have achieved. Do you want them to be able to play a certain number of chords? Do you want them to be able to play a certain number of strumming patterns? Do you want them to be able to do some finger picking? Write down what you want your goals for the class to be, and don't be afraid to adjust those goals if necessary throughout as well. But if you have a goal in mind, it's going to make it a lot easier to plan your lessons. Generally, if you're teaching beginner classes, You want to start from the very basics and gradually add things in. Know what chords you're going to look at, have a list of songs that you can potentially use, and have different exercises and challenges for them to work on at home. What I will say is, you will do them in a general order, but don't be surprised if you maybe have a really fast lesson and you get through quite a lot, or if you have slower lessons and things maybe take a little bit longer than what you thought as well. It's all part of the spontaneity and fun of teaching. Another thing is, know your audience. If you're teaching a group of adults, you don't want to be doing bands like 21 Pilots or little kiddie songs. Okay, sometimes they might like it, but you want to have a set of songs available that work for different audience types. You might have a set of songs that work really, really well for younger kids, but they maybe don't work as well for teenagers. You might have songs that work really well for adults, but children would have no idea what the song even was. You have to remember who your audience are. You have to think about what these people might like. Again, you'll always be surprised because you just never know what people are going to throw at you. They might say, you might get a tiny little kid that's like, oh, I absolutely love the Carpenters, which has happened to me before. And before you know it, you're looking up a Carpenter song for a 6-year-old. But that's just part of the joys of teaching. And when you do find someone that is particularly interested in music, you really want to fuel that passion and really use that to your advantage. Always find the people in the class that are positive and engaged and excited. You want to focus on their energy. Don't focus all of your attention on them, but you want to use their energy to help build up everybody else as well. If you do find somebody struggling, it's really easy to point that person out. Not that you would do it intentionally, but it's really easy to go directly towards that person and make sure they're okay. That can actually be quite overwhelming for somebody and maybe dishearten them a little bit. So what I always try and do is, if I notice that somebody does something that's maybe a bit slower than everybody else and I can see everyone else is getting it, what I'll do is I'll generalise it for the full class and say, oh, if we're struggling with this part in particular, let's just strip it back a bit and let's all try this together. Just so that you're not singling that person out, because it can be quite a daunting and scary experience for people. For my beginner lessons in general, I generally have a list of songs and I know which ones I can use for different audiences depending on who I'm teaching. I've normally got a list of chords, strumming patterns and finger picking exercises that I like to do as well. And we always start from the beginning. Start with a couple of chords, gauge your group, because every group will also move at different levels. I've tried to teach the same course maybe 3 different times, and each time the group has progressed at different rates. The most important thing is knowing that I have the materials there that all fit the end goal. Okay, I want them to be able to achieve this, this, this and this. Here are all of the things that will fit into that. There's plenty of beginner content out there. There's plenty of resources and materials. At the Ukulele Project, we've got plenty of teaching materials. I've also got plenty of teaching materials to help you with these things. One of the most important things, I think, is engaging your people and showing an interest in your people. You're their motivator. Remember, they will be looking up to you. They're learning from you. And you want to also give them the energy and the joy that you feel when you teach the ukulele or play the ukulele. When they do something well, congratulate them, encourage them. Listen to what they have to say. Listen to what's working for them and what they find challenging. Listen to what music they like. Always show interest, ask them questions. Because as soon as you show interest in them, they're also going to become a lot more engaged. I like to use the word team a lot. There's other words for this too. But if you think about it, your little class, your little group, you are a team. And it feels really nice when you know that you're working together with people and doing something together. And also, be honest. If you make a mistake or you mess something up a little bit, see if you vocalise that, people will realise that you are also human. You're vulnerable as well, and these things happen. I think I make mistakes in all of my song sheets. I make mistakes in every lesson. I'll maybe say the wrong thing or I'll say the wrong chord. You just have to own that and laugh through it. And it might actually make your class feel a little bit more safe as well, that it's okay for them to also make mistakes. But these are just some of the things that are initially spring into my mind when I think about what type of things to include when teaching a beginner lesson or just teaching ukulele in general. So be prepared, but not too prepared. Show interest in your people. Break things down and differentiate depending on people's levels. And feed into the energy that people are giving you back as well. But yeah, that's some top tips and some things that I find are really, really useful when you're going out and teaching a group. There's so much more to say. I have got a lot to say about teaching, but I know there's a lot of you out there that would love to start leading a group. I know that there's a lot of you out there who would love to run a beginner group, or maybe just even take the lead a little bit in your own group and teaching a song. So I hope these tips have been helpful in regards to that, and I hope to be sharing with you a lot more, and hopefully a little bit more planned as well. As I said, this was very off the cuff. I just wanted to brain dump a little bit because I've had a few people asking me recently about how to set up a beginner group or how they would go around teaching a beginner group. And yeah, there's so much to say. So if you would like anything a bit more specialised, please let me know. Drop me a message, drop me an email on anything you would like to know about teaching, on how you can get yourself started. And yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions and help you out. It is the most fun job in the world. I love it. I've been teaching for almost 9 years now. I've been teaching full time for over 2 years now. And it's honestly the most joyous, fun job ever. A lot of planning, a lot of thinking on your feet, a lot of unexpectedness, but that's just the joys and the roller coaster of the creative teaching life. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave me a wee comment if you've enjoyed. Let me know what your top tips are when it comes to teaching a group, and let me know which piece of advice that you've also found the most helpful that you'll start to use as well. Thank you so much. I am Ukulele Saz, or Sarah, whatever you like, and I will see you the next time.